Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. And today I am super excited because I am welcoming my very first guest onto the show, and that is Claydon, who is founder of the LuxoPuncture Clinic in Colchester. Now, Anne has been featured in many health and wellbeing magazines, talking about how she has been able to support hundreds of women with her service. Now, I doubt many of you have heard about this treatment, so I thought she'd make the perfect first guest. So, welcome, Anne. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. No, it's my pleasure. Mhm.
So, you and I first met about a year ago, probably a bit more now, actually, thinking about it. And you
Mhm.
introduced me to Luxo or LuxoPuncture. We'll probably shorten it as we go through. So I hadn't
Yes, a lot of
really
people
heard,
do. Mhm.
I hadn't really heard about it at the time, but it's a form of infrared acupuncture. Would you say that's accurate?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it's basically based on the principle of acupuncture. I stimulate pressure points, but I'm not an acupuncturist myself. I use a pulsive infrared beam to stimulate the pressure point. So I can see the machine actually at the back. I can show you if you'd like to. It's basically the way a point are stimulated. So there is no needle involved. There is no penetration of the skin. It's just a light goes through, and that is powerful enough to stimulate the pressure point. So unlike a typical acupuncture session where we would have needles and wait for the stimulation to happen. The Luxo, it's much more, it's a process. We start with the auriculotherapy, which is the ear acupuncture. We obviously, for us, it's easy to use because we've got a light and no needle, which hardly impossible to use on ears. So I start with the point on the ear, and then we go down the body by the face, the upper limbs. I do a lot of work on the stomach as well, the lower limbs, all the way to the feet, and we close with the head again. So that's a typical point. So it's slightly it's different than luxopuncture because we take each point one after the other from right to left. Which is slightly different with traditional acupuncture treatment. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's the same stimulation.
I
Yeah,
know what really
yeah.
interested me about it because once we met and you were telling me about it, I like to go away and do a little bit of research and find out a little bit more about things. So, although there's not that much out there about specifically about Luxo, there's a lot about infrared, which is what your pen actually uses, isn't it? The infrared
Yeah,
light.
yes.
And there's
Some
plenty
people.
of research and evidence around that, particularly for cell repair and easing muscle tension and pain relief. And then I
Yeah.
know
hmm
from a couple of clients of yours that came in to see me, they were absolutely raving about the anxiety and stress
Yeah.
relief that that brought about. So,
hmm
as
Yeah.
you know, I thought that would make it perfect for us to talk about today. So, with that in mind, and with my clients being perimenopausal and menopausal, I thought let's start at the beginning for you and what was happening for you during your perimenopause that led you to find Luxo.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey now because I started I need to go back to 2017 and 16 initially. I first heard of the Luxo. Obviously, you can hear that I'm French. And I heard about the Luxo through a cousin of mine, my mum, who was telling me how great a cousin of mine looked. Had lost a lot of weight and was feeling amazing. And at the time, I was gradually not myself, and I was putting on weight. So I've always been very conscious about my nutrition. I've always been interested in health as a rule, and it was basically becoming out of my control. There's nothing I could do. Um, And I got really intrigued, and I knew I would see her in the Easter 17. So I searched it a little bit better. I saw her and was really taken by what she had to say, how she looked, how she felt. And I looked into it really. At the time, I've got to be honest, I was already perimenopausal, but it's only when I actually discovered the Luxo that I actually it was obvious, okay.
Mm.
But before, I couldn't put a name to it. I knew that uh, I was changing, and I'm happy to talk about the details. So in 2017, age 45, I was suffering from several perimenopausal symptoms. I think they were fairly typical, but they were starting to be quite having an impact on my life.
Mm.
And I can put them down to 2 years before that. So 2014 really. And it started initially with a sleep, but in 2017, basically, I went from sleep disruption to sleep deprivation.
So many people can identify with,
Very common.
because it just sneaks up on
I
you,
see
doesn't
it.
it? Because I didn't
Yeah,
recognise that.
and it's
I was
gradual.
38. Yeah, I was 38, and I was like, it wasn't on my radar at all. So my symptoms were like perimenopause. It was like, what? What's that? And it's something, as you just mentioned just then,
Yeah,
it's something that we see with all of our clients. It's something that's kind of off in the future, isn't it? It's not something that we're thinking about as being us now.
no, that's right. And at the time, I could not have used the word even perimenopause. I knew, okay, my hormones are changing. I'm getting older. It's but I didn't really. I couldn't put a name to it. And there were other things. And as you said, it sort of creeps in. There is one thing, and then I had started to have extremely, I mean, what I call hemorrhagic periods. So I had to deal with that very mechanically. And subsequently in July 17, just before me trying the Luxo, I had an endometrial ablation. So that was also another sign of my perimenopause. And there was two other things that were really bothering me. It was I was putting on weight, the cravings, that low 5 o'clock where I just felt exhausted, and I was
Mm.
reaching for food, snacking, and my weight was really I felt out of control. And there was another thing that was starting to affect the family life, was my anger.
The
I was
rage.
suffering
Yeah.
from rage,
Goodness.
and a slight little thing would just spark it. And I was not becoming actually a very nice person to be around. It was difficult at home, and I'm thinking, wow, how far can that? Where can that take me? I was starting to worry about it really
Mm.
seriously. And when you think about it, it was 7 years ago. So I'm just thinking, I'm so grateful. I feel so blessed to have come across the Luxo, and not only come across the Luxo, but come across the Luxo when I did, when I was not in such a bad state, where things have really settled. Where I really, truly believe that if I had not come across the Luxo when I did, I'd be obese by now, and could be divorced, really, because I'm thinking, what can 7 years do of all these getting worse and worse, and me not managing less and less? I don't know. I may have been lucky to find other source of relief, but the Luxo really has sorted that out for me.
So although you went for your looks initially for your weight, how long would you say it took
Yes, because
for the rest of your symptoms to start to subside then?
it was immediate. So if I go back to that summer 17, I was really keen to try the Luxo, but I didn't think to try it for my perimenopausal symptom. It's how detached I was from all that reality, really. But what really was the obvious thing for me to try it on was the weight. And so I used the opportunity of a trip to my parents to try. Okay, I only had 9 days. And I remember telling the lady, I saw the same lady as my cousin. I really wanted her. And I had the choice because in France, I haven't said yet, but in France, it's a very widely used therapy. It's 30 years old now, more than 30 years old. And when I did try it 7 years ago, I had the choice of therapists I could go and see.
And there's nothing
You
like
know,
a
you haven't got to
recommendation,
travel
is
far
there?
in France to find. Yes, that's right. And obviously, it worked on my cousin, so I wanted to see her. And so I only had 9 days, and I remember telling her, I said, I want to see you, you know, how much can I fit in 9 days? And she said,
Mm.
oh, in 9 days, 3. I can't really possibly do more. And I wanted to see her every day. And she said, no, 3. That's about what I can do. And now I understand the process. It makes sense. But at the time, I was like, okay, fine, only 3. Oh my God. And clearly, I was doubting, you know, although I was well read and I really researched it and it looked amazing. I obviously did it as weight loss. Okay. So the lady did the protocol that I use now on weight
Hmm.
loss. Okay. So the results were immediate, overnight for me. I think I'm part of the lucky one, you know, but it does happen. I've seen it. Some of my clients have benefited from that wow factor. So it changed 2 things. Okay, so it changed in term. I can talk about it in terms of weight loss and in terms of my perimenopausal symptoms. So let's get rid of the weight loss. The weight loss, basically, I embarked. She gave me a dietary guide. Okay, for me
Hmm.
to follow, which I don't do things half-heartedly. I do it properly. So I followed it very, very strictly.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, my God, for what I'm eating, I should be ravaging by now. You know, I've got a low satiety level. So when it may take you 15 minutes, Julie, to feel full during the meal, it takes me half an hour. So I
Hmm.
eat a lot. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm so controlled. I'm like, wow, I can say no to things very easily. And really, yeah, my meals were plenty, but compared to what I was eating before, it was, you know, nothing, and lots of vegetables and protein. And I'm like, wow, I felt so in control. Uh, but that was it really with regard to the food. So I concentrated on that. But the most impact I had was on my perimenopausal symptoms. So that sleep, for example,
Hmm.
that sleep overnight, I slept like a baby. I woke up refreshed. I mean, my typical night was waking up 3, 4 times with
Mm.
really struggling to go back to sleep. That's where I was at the time. First night, slept through, woke up refreshed, ready to go.
And what a good feeling that is.
It was incredible, absolutely incredible. The other thing for me was this sense of calm. I was at peace with myself. I've always been a perfectionist. So he had run my life for 45
Mm.
years. 45 years. It's incredible. So I felt calm. I felt in what I was doing. And I've
Mm.
realized very quickly that I was not beating myself up about yesterday, what I didn't do well, what I didn't say, or how I should have done things, which I used to do all my life. Or I was not basically anticipating to do my best for the next day, you know, stressing about tomorrow. And
I wonder if that
so
comes
tomorrow is
about, do you
tomorrow.
think,
Like,
from the relaxation of the session of itself? Because it looks like it's from the
yep,
setup that you've got there, it looks really relaxing. So I wonder if some of that is like
it
spending
is.
some time on yourself and
But
bringing a bit more balance to your
mm,
nervous system, kicking in that parasympathetic side of
yeah,
things so you can relax a bit more.
maybe we can, in a nutshell, but maybe we can go back on that a bit later. What the Luxo does, it rebalances the hormonal system, the digestive system, the lymphatic system, and it also, where the relaxation comes from, is that he also rebalances the neurohormones. So we do work on the dopamine, melatonin, endorphin, all those neurohormones, those feel-good hormones, those relaxing
Hmm.
hormones that bring you the better sleep,
And tend to be out of balance, don't they, when we're
this
in
sense of
perimenopause?
this sense of balance. And
Mm.
my clients use a very different term to describe it, and you can see on their testimonials, they explain it in a very different way. I've got people say, I feel even.
Mm.
Other people say, I feel balance. Others feel the calm. Others feel at peace. It's very, the interpretation is very personal. But at the
Mm.
end of the day, all these help dealing with what the difficulty they are experiencing, that it is for a weight loss, that it is for general stress and anxiety that can stem from many things, or that it is for the perimenopause. And this is why the Luxo also acts differently on people, because the level of requirements of rebalancing is different from people to people. So I never know when I embarked on a journey with somebody how they will react,
Mm.
where the Luxo can tweak things for them. And it's very common, and I can go back lean on back onto my own experience, that people gain more than what they bargain for when they come for a Luxo treatment, simply because we touch on a lot of aspects of the body.
That totally sits
Yeah,
well with
they can
perimenopause,
come
doesn't
to
it?
see me
Menopause.
to stop smoking, but it will sort something in their gut, and then all of a sudden their their digestive system will work better. And this is
Mm.
one of the things I gained all my life. Julie, was constipated. It's the way I was. I was taking it as it was, overnight I became regular, and I was like, that was absolutely amazing. I've never experienced it in my entire life. Again, 45 years, and I felt freed from that burden, really
Yeah,
free.
it's
It was
interesting, isn't it?
amazing.
Because again, that
And
ties in with that kind
yeah,
of getting balance of your nervous system. But kind of going back a little bit, what you were saying further back about you were given a diet plan as well to follow. So you, so
yeah,
you,
all this
so it's
helped.
not
Mm, mm.
just it's like a lot of things that during like perimenopause and menopause solutions, I think, get sold as being like this magic pill. This thing alone is going to fix you, make you feel better. But even
Mm.
like they, even though this is like a really supportive tool, I'm glad that you're saying and bringing that kind of bit into the equation as well. That it's not, this isn't going to fix you. You need to still look at what you're
No,
eating and your
I haven't.
lifestyle.
My
It's all
my
part and
wand here.
parcel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mm, my wand here. That's what I said to people. I haven't got a magic solution for you. I've got some help, which, as you do in your line of work, this is a tool. Like
Hmm.
HRT is, like breath work. What you do, like nutrition, like relaxation. This is a tool to um, to deal with
It's
difficulties
finding
people are faced with.
the tool that
Uh,
works for you, isn't it? Because we are all so
yeah,
different.
there's
Okay.
there is no
So
right or
again,
wrong. It's what
no.
works for the individual. Hmm.
So do you want to get your pen
Yeah.
maybe and talk us through what like a
Yes.
typical procedure might actually look like, or a treatment session?
Yes. Okay. So this is the machine, and this is what the infrared is like. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can see from the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see
There
it
is this
flashing
little
there.
light.
Yep.
Tell me that it's on. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is how it's stimulated, basically. And I use it on the body like this.
Okay.
So on any
So
part of
what
the
would
body.
someone
That's
feel
right.
while they're having that? Is it like a warm sensation, or do they not feel anything at all?
Usually they don't feel much at all, except a little bit of warmth on the ears, simply because we haven't got a lot of flesh there. And people experience often refer to feeling relaxed, and feeling relaxed. They feel the energy, the traveling from in the neck, and then
Okay.
further down. If they are very in tune with their body, they do feel it all the way to their feet. But people find it, as a rule, very relaxing, really. But you don't feel anything as such.
So how long does a session actually
Mm.
last for?
It depends. It depends. But as a rule, about 45 minutes. because I can go intensive, and that's mean that every point will be about 40 seconds. If I use a normal protocol, if the person is sensitive, is particularly sensitive to tea, caffeine, stimulants, basically, I'm a little bit wary. So I would often start with a normal protocol, which is a mixture of points on 20 seconds, 40 seconds. But as a rule, I quite like to start if I've got no concern. I do like to use the points on 40 seconds. Yeah.
So you start from the head and work your way down.
That's right. That's right. But each protocol is very different. So obviously, most of my work, as you know, is menopause and weight loss. But I also do general anxiety, relaxation, stress, deal with stress and anxiety issues. And I also help people stopping smoking. So those protocols are slightly, particularly stopping smoking is very different. But in the term of a menopause protocol, which is what is of interest to us today, I always start with a course of 7 sessions. Okay. The LuxoPuncture is cumulative. So it's not one treatment that is potentially going to make a lot of difference. It's accumulation of treatments. And if we do 7 treatments, it's because on most women, it's where we would find the best, we'll reach the optimum rebalancing on most women, really. So I always start, and I do that over a period of 6 weeks. So the 2 first treatments are quite close to each other.
So that's quite
Yeah.
a short space of time,
And then,
really, to feel quite a big impact in your symptoms.
yes, yeah. Usually, on most of the cases, I see a huge improvement from the 3rd to 4th session. It would be the general trend, you know.
Okay.
Sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it's slow, and towards the end, also, very rare, but it does happen that it doesn't quite cut it, and the problems are elsewhere. The Luxo can't really help. But from the 3rd session, you start gradually seeing a significant improvement from the 3rd. And we also, what I do, Julie, is I do maybe a bit like you do list the symptoms, and I do a scoring table. So it's very easy to go back to the symptoms, and it's also very easy to see the progress. And I find that if there is progress, it has happened many times. People say, "Oh yeah, slight improvement," and then when we do the scoring table,
It's
they
quite
realize that it's quite significant, and even sometimes they'd forgotten. Oh, now you say, "Oh, I haven't had that this week," and
brilliant.
thanks to the table, we're like, okay, well, that's great then. So that's potentially we've got this one, and
Is
that's
there
right. Yes,
anyone that
yes. So
Luxo isn't suitable for?
no, no, it's not. It's very gentle. It's harmless. Now and again, I'm a little bit wary. Sometimes the stimulation is quite powerful. So if I've got a sensitive individual, he can stimulate the symptoms, but that's very transient. It doesn't last. But it has happened on a couple of occasions in the last 6 years. But I'm still seeing those people, and it's all right. It can be easily corrected. But no, it doesn't. There is no specific.
Contraindications or anything like that?
It does suit, yes, contrary, except that if you're pregnant, I will not treat you. If you're undergoing cancer treatment, same, and I'll have to be extremely careful if some people have got some epileptic issues with the light and the stimulation. It can trigger a crisis. So I've got to be very careful in those particular cases. But it's the same with the steroids. On relaxation, I've got to be a little bit careful, but except that it's harmless. It can only bring benefits, really. Yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds like
So
there are lots of benefits during perimenopause and menopause. Because as I was saying earlier, that none of us experience it in the same way. So I think as long as a treatment is safe and it makes you feel better, then it's worth exploring.
I see a variety of people. I do see women who are on HRT, for which it doesn't quite work. Okay. And I see women who don't want to go on HRT. Personally, I've got nothing against HRT. It's just not what I do. And it's, the Luxo will bring some extra relief. That's
Because not
right. It's
everyone wants
definitely,
to or can use HRT, so there is other options.
that's right. And HRT will not solve a digestive issue potentially, will not suppress appetite, will not deal with the craving like the Luxo would. So, the Luxo, it's a very holistic. It has got, it's a very holistic approach and much more general than just pure hormone replacement. For example, it cured my restless leg. I've been suffering from restless leg since my late teens. And it took me 4 months to remember that. You see, that's how I didn't have a scoring table to remind me.
Yeah.
And actually, Julie, I see that very often when I have a chat, because there's a lot of chats going on. We talk about nutrition. We talk about all sorts of things. And people will say, oh, actually, since I've had the Luxo, this doesn't happen. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's normal. And people had not mentioned certain things to me because they didn't think it was relevant. But the Luxo is actually in the background working on other things.
So I would just jump a little
Um,
bit on the HRT in that I think some women do find relief in their digestive
oh
issues
yeah, definitely. Hmm.
because of the calming
Hmm.
effect that it has on your body and balancing your hormones. But as we're saying, it's options, isn't it? If you want to take HRT or you don't, that there are
Yeah.
options like the service that
Hmm.
you're providing out there. So let's
Yeah.
wrap it up there. Is there anything
Do,
else you want to add, Anne, specifically about Luxo or to tell people about before we finish?
no, I think I would really encourage people to look at their health and not wait. Not wait. They have symptoms. Look at basically their lifestyle. Speak to younger women around them in their 30s to make sure that they encourage them to
To let
really
them know what's coming
tackle things
and
before it
prepare.
gets.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Before it's harder. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, as you well know, 75% of us will have perimenopausal symptom at some level. Okay. 25 of us will have serious debilitating symptoms. So if you're not carrying extra weight, if you're already paying attention to your nutrition and your general well-being, then you are in much better place to face what's coming.
definitely.
Hopefully not much, but most of us will be facing some difficulties really. Yeah.
Absolutely right there. So
Mm.
Anne has kindly given us an offer for listeners of the podcast. So that is one free session for every course booked. So that's saving you £40. So 7 sessions for the price of
That's
six.
correct.
You just need to mention the podcast. So transform your menopause at time of booking. Anne's website is LuxoPunctureClinic.co.uk. But I'll put that into the description and notes as well so that you'll be able to find you nice and
Yes, people
easily.
probably want it spelled out. Yeah.
Exactly. So thanks so
Thank you
much for
very
joining
much,
me
Julie.
today, Anne, and being my very first guest. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
And we'll leave it there. So, just to wrap up for today, I just wanted to say I have had so many lovely messages and feedback about the podcast, and I just want to let you know how much I appreciate that. So, if you have the opportunity to rate the show or share it with your friends, whoever you think needs to hear it, then that's just wonderful too. So, thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.